Alright guys, who broke the robot?
Hello everyone, I'm a broken robot. One of my favorite genres of gaming is none other than horror. When developers and game writers can create an immersive environment while keeping you at the edge of your seat, this combination has given us some of the greatest moments in gaming, whether you're cowering in a locker in Alien Isolation, hugging the walls in Outlast, or running for your life in Resident Evil. However, I think it's safe to say that no horror game franchise has changed the way that developers design their games more than Five Nights at Freddy's, spearheaded by the now legendary Scott Cawthon. In this video, we'll discuss FNAF 1 and what made it so unique when it debuted in August of 2014, as well as how the style of FNAF and its various characters not only changed horror gaming, but how we play it today. The development story of Five Nights at Freddy's, better known as FNAF, began with its creator Scott Cawthon, an independent game developer from Houston, Texas. Scott Cawthon had been developing games for several years before the release of FNAF, and from a young age was obsessed with coding. He had created various Christian-themed games, educational games, and even a few horror games, but unfortunately most of these titles didn't receive much attention or financial success. However, on August 8, 2014, Five Nights at Freddy's was released, and within a month became his breakout success and defined his entire career. The inspiration for Five Nights at Freddy's came from a combination of sources. Scott Cawthon drew inspiration from his own childhood fears. In one 2014 interview with Geeks Under Grace, a Christian gaming journalist group, Scott told interviewers that his direct inspiration for Five Nights at Freddy's was his childhood fear of Chuck E. Cheese and constantly being worried that he would be invited to a birthday party at one of their locations, as well as movies, books, and urban legends about haunted animatronic characters at family entertainment centers, fueled his imagination when designing the look and feel of Five Nights at Freddy's. He aimed to create a game that would be simple in its mechanics but highly effective in delivering scares and tensions to the players while not being totally story-driven. In terms of design choices, Five Nights at Freddy's stands out for its unique gameplay style. The game takes place in a fictional pizza restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and casts the player as a night security guard tasked with monitoring the establishment via security cameras. The animatronic characters in the game come to life at night and try to harm the player. The goal is to survive 5 nights, hence the title, by conserving power and strategically managing the limited resources available. As mentioned earlier, Scott purposely made FNAF with the intention of it not being a story-driven title, but masterfully uses his own voice to act out the only other unnamed character in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, that the fanbase has lovingly nicknamed Phone Guy.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night.
Each of the 5 main nights he'll call you to give you praise, advice, and on later nights distract you from the work at hand. On night 1 he explains why you're there and what to do, as well as why there's a power limit, and on night 2 he explains how to deal with the different characters, but by night 3 he's more of a distraction that helps flesh out the lore and atmosphere of the game than anything else. Five Nights at Freddy's was initially developed using ClickTeam Fusion, a game development tool that allowed Scott Cawthon to create the game relatively quickly and efficiently. The game's low-budget aesthetic, including the pixelated graphics and simple animations, also added to its charm and contributed to its success. Upon release, Five Nights at Freddy's gained widespread attention on platforms like YouTube, where many popular YouTubers started making Let's Play videos of the game. The game's jump scares, eerie atmosphere, and lore-rich backstory quickly captivated players, leading to a significant fanbase and subsequent sequels. Now that we know why and how Scott made his magnum opus, let's discuss what just makes FNAF so great. The choice to have a fixed camera perspective and limited control options added to the game's tension and suspense, and was something very few game studios implemented into their games. Players must monitor the animatronics' movements, conserve power, and close doors at the right time to prevent them from reaching the security office. In a way, Five Nights at Freddy's is much like a tower defense game, with each of the 5 animatronics following scripted paths towards you, with the uncertainty of exactly how things will play out being the main cause for tension. Thanks to this and RNG, no 2 playthroughs will be exactly alike, and while Let's Players and Five Nights at Freddy's fanatics have claimed that there are developing strategies for beating certain nights and in certain ways, in my personal experience it's just better to develop your own playstyle through trial and error. Speaking of gameplay, it would be impossible to analyze Five Nights at Freddy's 1 without looking at each of the individual animatronics. Freddy Fazbear, easily the most popular of the 5 animatronics, behavior is interesting. Freddy starts moving once he becomes active, but will stay in one spot for the entire night before then. Usually on night 3 and onward is when he'll end up actually being in the game. He tends to be stealthy and elusive. It's best to constantly keep an eye on Freddy through the cameras and check for his movement constantly. When you see him on the cameras, quickly switch to another camera or close the security door on his side to prevent him from entering the office. Managing power efficiently is crucial when dealing with Freddy, especially on Night 4 and Night 5. Bonnie the Bunny, who became a fan favorite character later in the franchise, is one of the more active animatronics and will be out in the game as early as Night 1 and moves quite frequently. He often appears in the left hallway and can approach the office through the left hallway and has various movement patterns. The best strategy for Bonnie is to monitor his movements through the cameras, especially cameras 1C and 2B, which cover the left hallway. If you see him getting close or close to the left door, to keep him at bay, use the lights to check if he's moved in, and if you do see him, immediately slam down that heavy metal door to keep him from entering your office. Chica the Chicken moves a lot like Bonnie in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Chica shares a similar behavior pattern with Bonnie and also moves frequently. She tends to appear in the right hallway and can approach the office from either the right door or through the camera lens. The strategy is to keep an eye on Chica through cameras 1B and 2A, which cover the right hallway, close to the right door. If you spot her getting close, it's okay to use your light to see her position, but be advised that you cannot directly see Chica on the camera with the regular light. Be mindful of your power usage when dealing with her at the door. Foxy the Pirate is a unique animatronic who starts in Pirate Cove and becomes active when monitored too often or not frequently enough. He will eventually dash towards the office at high speeds when you look at the camera 2B. The best strategy is to keep an eye on Foxy by checking Pirate Cove on camera 1C. Make sure to check in on him periodically to prevent him from becoming too aggressive, but it's also important to not check on him too often. If you see him peeking out of the Pirate Cove, quickly close the left door to prevent his sudden attack. Managing Foxy's aggression is crucial to surviving the night. The rarest of the 5 animatronics is Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy is a special animatronic that is triggered under specific circumstances. He can appear in the office without any warning, resulting in an instant game over. There is no foolproof strategy to deal with Golden Freddy, unfortunately, as his appearance is very unpredictable and there's been no set strategy. However, there are some signs that he may be triggered, such as hallucinations, audio distortions, or his face briefly appearing on the poster in the office. If you do encounter Golden Freddy in your office, the best thing you can do is to remain still and hope that he simply passes by, otherwise it will be an instant game over. Remember, managing your power is crucial when dealing with all 5 of the major animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's. Efficiently using cameras, lights, and doors while conserving power will increase your chance of survival. Pay attention to the auditory cues that you'll become used to as you play, and check the cameras frequently. And be prepared to react swiftly to each animatronic's movement that can be random. What made Five Nights at Freddy's such a smash hit was its challenging gameplay along with its unique setting and Easter eggs that helped spawn the cult fanbase that is now the massive Five Nights at Freddy's fanbase. Before Five Nights at Freddy's 1, video games fell into one of 2 categories. You had games like Amnesia: The Dark Descent that has a linear story that is, while very compelling, has very little replayability. And then you had games like Slender and the 7 Pages, where the game wasn't meant to have a story and was just very replayable, meant for YouTubers to play. Five Nights at Freddy's effectively breached the gap thanks to phone guy, Easter eggs, and other bits of lore sprinkled into the various cameras. Because of these scraps of lore, players were able to construct elaborate theories on ideas on what the story is behind Five Nights at Freddy's that opened the door for sequels and spin-offs that would beat the animatronics trend into the ground by the time Sister Location came around. But if things like the Bite of 87 and Golden Freddy strike a chord with you, then you know exactly how it was when Five Nights at Freddy's first debuted in 2014. It's no secret that a lot of developers took direct inspiration from Five Nights at Freddy's. Hell, YouTubers like Markiplier and Dashy Games have made entire careers out of playing clones made by indie developers. While most of these clones don't hold a candle to the original, fan games like Five Nights at Treasure Islands, Five Nights at Wario's, Five Nights at Candy's, and Five Nights at the Krusty Krab have gained their own notable cult followings. It's also important to note that Scott made all game files for Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3 open to the public so others could use his code to help jumpstart their own gaming products. But unfortunately, now's the part of the video where I address the elephant in the room. Five Nights at Freddy's changed the target demographic of horror gaming forever. While the first 3 games had an even blend of young and adult fans, by the time FNAF 4 and FNAF Sister Location was released, more older fans were turned off by the franchise, which opened the floodgate for very young children to enjoy and become fascinated with the game. While many have debated why these kinds of phenomena take place, my theory is that young children usually want to feel more mature, and seeing as most horror games at least touch on mature themes or violence, they naturally gravitate towards them in the hopes of appearing more mature. Because of this, a new genre of horror called mascot horror was born, where game developers would purposely make horror games with iconic characters to sell merch, books, and anything else they could slap logos on. Think Bendy and the Ink Machine or Garden of Bam Bam. While Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is a masterpiece and seen as the shining star of horror gaming, its legacy has slowly been buried in a sea of other game companies trying to cash in on the mascot horror genre. With the new Five Nights at Freddy's games being buggy and uninteresting messes, many have left behind the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, seeing it as a game franchise for wannabe edgy teens and young children. However, despite these shortcomings, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 changed horror gaming forever because it invented the fixed camera motion for horror and was part of the horror Let's Play revolution and led to a massive franchise with mixed success. But what do you guys think? Is Five Nights at Freddy's 1 truly the trailblazer of horror gaming that I think it is, or do you guys personally think it's overrated? Leave a comment down below, let me know, would you like me to do more Five Nights at Freddy's analysis and reviews, or do you want me to make other kinds of videos? If you like what you see, please like and subscribe because it lets me know that you want more. I hope you all have a great day, drink some water, and make sure to eat 3 square meals today.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror game that you guys suggested en masse, and I saw that Yamimash played it and he said it was really good. So I'm very eager to see what is up, and that is a terrifying animatronic bear, family pizzeria looking for a security guard to work the night shift. Oh.